Hello and welcome to the Kitchen Conversations podcast. My name is Patrycja Rozwora and I'm the host of this platform where we speak about contemporary art from so-called Eastern Europe. In each episode, you're going to be introduced to one artist or researcher whose visual or activist practice sheds light onto the complex former socialist region with all its histories, cultures, languages, foods, but also traumas and their inevitable contemporary consequences. The podcast is a fully independent platform existing since May 2020. If you enjoy the monthly conversations, you can support me via Patreon or share the episode with your friends or via social channels. And so after a short but well-deserved summer break, we are back to speaking about art and the so-called Eastern Europe. But today, expanding our area of interest to post-socialist Central Asia and more specifically Uzbekistan. My today's guest, Nadira Khalikova, of Tajik origin, grew up in Uzbekistan before moving to Germany a couple of years ago. Today, she runs a fashion label called My Little Bukhara. The idea of the brand is motivated by Nadira's dream to make women of Uzbekistan independent and free from patriarchal structures that still very much dominates that part of the world. The brand works with local craftswomen who, by producing traditional garments, with a twist of course, spread the unique culture and heritage of Uzbek textile and tapestry making.
Hi Patrycja, thank you for invitation.
So happy to see you here on my screen. You're such a bright person, smiling a lot. I like that.
I'm very excited. I think it's my first interview in English.
Yeah.
I'm very excited, looking forward to our conversation.
So usually you speak German, right? You live in Germany since 2015 and that's your main language that you speak here.
Yes, it is for me very difficult to use only one language because I have 3 mother tongues, native languages. So German and now English, so it's a little bit difficult for me to switch between all the languages, but I'm sure we will make it.
Yeah, I will manage. So what are the 3 other languages you speak?
Uzbek, Tajik, and Russian.
All right. And they are the same level, so you can switch whenever you need to.
Yes, my Uzbek is not so perfect since I didn't live in Uzbekistan. I forget a little bit, but I understand it perfectly. And if I'm in Uzbekistan, I can use it for daily conversations.
You were, of course, born in Uzbekistan. Is that correct?
Yes, it's correct.
You lived there for quite some years, but since quite some years as well, 2015, you moved to Germany. You live now in Stuttgart. What motivated you to come to Europe, to Germany, and stay here?
I wanted always, since my childhood, to live in Europe, and I was fascinated by the lifestyle of people in Europe. Maybe I had also some utopic ideas about the life in Germany especially, but I was dreaming about living in Germany, and I had a fortune that my mother supported my dream, and she made everything so that I can visit German language classes, etc. So I began to learn German at the university. It was 2011, I began to German studies in Uzbekistan. So 2015, I was fortunate to get a scholarship for master studies in Germany. And so I come to Germany and my dream comes true. It's in short my way to Germany.
So nice. And what did you study? What was the direction you took?
In Uzbekistan, as I told, I studied German studies, but in my master degree, I graduated international relationships, politics.
All right. And now, of course, you do something quite different or more connected to the crafts, but I see definitely the political studies part of it there as well, which we will, of course, speak about. But let's stay a little bit in Uzbekistan. it's a very big country. I think a lot of people from Europe have to check the map where it is. And then it's like, wow, it's such a big country. It's quite a surprise. It's a country with ancient traditions. And I think all of this you include in your practice that I'm very excited to talk about. But tell me, from which city are you from in this big country?
Big country. I come from Bukhara. Bukhara is in the south of Uzbekistan, and we have very, very hot summers. It's about 55 degrees in summer, and we have also very cold winters. It's like minus above 20 grades. It's very cold in winter and it's very, very hot in summer.
I read that it's a city with the most interesting ancient architecture and the tradition dates long, long back.
Bukhara was very long time the capital of Bukharian Empire. So due this status, due this place, we have a lot of ancient buildings, and people in Bukhara are very connected to their city, and they are very, very proud of the history of these buildings. And if you are in the city, especially if you're in the old part of the city, we have two cities, new city and old city. And in the old city, you feel this a little bit spiritual, old atmosphere, like everything is connected. People are very kind to each other. It's like other dimension. It's like other times. Yes, but there are also another city in Uzbekistan. It's Samarkand. So it's also a very old city with huge tradition, and between people from Bukhara and Samarkand, there's always competition. So if we see some tourists, we ask, did you visit Samarkand? They say yes, because the touristic route is Tashkent, Samarkand, Bukhara, Khiva. And our next question, which city do you like most, Bukhara or Samarkand? It's like
you have to choose.
It's like competition between two cities, and the same as the people from Samarkand. Yes, I find this very funny because Samarkand and Bukhara are both Farsi, Tajik-speaking cities. So we share the common history and common traditions, common language, but it's like our brotherhood, sisterhood, like we are competing with each other, but we still love each other.
Still in
it's
love.
Very funny. Yes.
I wanted to ask you if it actually happens often that people like you move for their studies away from Uzbekistan. Is that a common thing, like this migration of young people to study abroad and then perhaps go back or stay in the West? Does it happen often?
Unfortunately, I would say unfortunately, yes, because a lot of young people have big ambitions to study abroad and also to stay and live abroad, because the life in Uzbekistan in itself is very challenging. Like a lot of problems, society has a lot of problems, and it is easier to live in Western countries where you have a good job, you have a health insurance, etc. It's very small details that at the end of the day are very important for people who then decided to stay not at home. It was also my past. So I didn't want to stay in Uzbekistan or to live there since my childhood, because I saw all the problems and I didn't want to be part of this system. So I decided very early in my life, in some point, to leave Uzbekistan. There are also a lot of people who want to come back, especially girls or young women who are sometimes even forced to come back due traditions. And it is also not so easy for young women to stay abroad because of the mentality of what will people say about it, because it is, who knows what are you doing, what are you going to do in Europe, yes, or in US, America. That's why it is a little bit challenging for young women to be abroad. But for men, young men, it is very typical to live and stay abroad. Yeah, it's not in Uzbekistan.
So since you mentioned the Uzbek women, that's of course a nice link to your project, to your brand that you created, being already here in Germany. That brings the value of female labor and also the aspects of being a woman in Uzbekistan to a broader audience, and also allows those women to live independent life. Yeah, tell us please a little bit more about this, the concept of your brand, the name and everything that comes with it.
So I visited my country, my family, after 3 years being in Germany, 2018, and it was a usual travel, so I just wanted to stay with my family, and in this time some part of my identity was maybe Europeized. I don't know if this word exists, but I was I had some changes in my personality. So I came back to Uzbekistan, and I become aware of the problems that especially women have in Uzbekistan. Uzbekistan have a lot of problems, but there is also gender problems which are connected to women. So it was for me very, very sad to see how it is the society so patriarchal and how the conservative patterns are very dominated in the society. So it was very, for me, sad to speak with my friends about female friends about their situations and so on. So I began, after I come to Germany, back to Germany, I began to write about it in my blog. And the name of the blog was My Little Bukhara. Like Bukhara, obviously, the name of my hometown. And I wanted to tell the small stories of the city, like creating a small Uzbek universe, Uzbek world for myself, like a small Uzbekistan. It was the idea. And also in this small Uzbekistan, in my mind, the women are independent and free. So the main topic was about women and their life. So I began to write about it. It was for me very challenging to write the truth, because it hurt me. It is part of my identity, and I didn't know how, in which way I was traumatized by the culture. I wasn't aware about this issue. So the blog on this way was also a part of my identity journey. But after 1 year or so, I noticed that I'm writing, and people in Germany, especially because blog was or is in German language, people also reading. But the situation didn't change. The women are struggling till now. They have the gender issues and so on. The problems are still growing, and my blog especially did not help directly.
Did people respond though? Did people comment, or were they surprised, or were they sharing their own experiences of being perhaps in other Central Asian countries, or what was the German audience response to those first blog writings of yours?
Responding were from people who were in Uzbekistan and knew only touristic side. If you, as a tourist, go to Uzbekistan, you see, of course, very cheerful people, very colorful daily life, and so on. It's very romanticized. But as a woman from this culture, I was aware about the problems. So people who read it, they were a little bit shocked. And they also speak about the political situations, etc. It was one group of people who write me. The other group, I was also surprised that I got some mails from German women who has a relationship with Uzbek guys. And it was for them very hurting to hear that after some time together, some Uzbek guys leave these women alone and go back to Uzbekistan or married Uzbek women because the tradition, because the mother of the guy wanted it, and so on. It was very, for me, surprising to get such kind of mails and emails, and I saw that the problem of Uzbek women or the problem of the Uzbek society are not only typical Uzbek problems; they are actually typical gender problem, which also face other countries in the world. And that's why it was also very nice response from 2 or 3, I think, refugee women from Syria who are living now in Germany and learning German language, and they saw their life in one or other blog post. It was also very interesting.
I also read a few of your texts, and you're a great writer. I was very drawn into even like the newsletter. I read it all. It was super interesting.
Thank you.
But following on that, so then you, despite the responses, you felt the situation of those people, of those women, is not really changing. So you decided to bring the My Little Bukhara to a different level, let's say, and you did something else with it.
Yes, I began to think about a fashion label. Like I loved fashion always, since my childhood. So, but I also explored for myself newly on that time the world of Uzbek textile. It was very beautiful, colorful world of women. So throughout this textile world, I explored, I see on the new way my identity, because on that time I had also identity crisis, and I don't want to be an Uzbek woman. I wanted to be everything but not Uzbek woman. It was very horrible time for myself. But due to this textile and the women who created it, these craftswomen from the ancient time, I felt in love with my country in new way. So I accepted my identity, and I wanted tell the stories of the women, of the craftswomen of Uzbekistan through fashion. I thought, okay, I will start a fashion label, but on that time come Corona. But I had a very small collection of 7 pieces. So we sold it in 1 month, I think, and I didn't have even Instagram on that time, and everything was very, very unprofessional, let's say it like on this way. So I was very grateful for this help, because the pandemic time was very struggling time for craftswomen in Uzbekistan, like everywhere in the world. And we worked with women who are single parents, who are divorced, and are like single persons in the family who earned money. So they, if they weren't able to sell, to make dresses, to sell fabrics, they didn't have anything to earn for family. So it was for me personally very, very important to help this group of the women, and I was very grateful that we sold our pieces and we could help women on this hard time.
But let me first put things a little bit in place.
Yeah.
How did a person who is more from like the academia start a fashion label? Do you also somehow like create the pieces yourself? Are you like also a craft person? Do you know how to sew stuff? Or how did you actually get connected to those craft women in Uzbekistan?
As I was a child, my mother always tried to force me to make something with my hands. But I was as you told, academic person, so I choose every time to read a book and not make some piece of fabric. It was for me horrible imagination to sit and make something with my hands. It was something very what I avoided as a child. So it comes on this way that 2018, I visited my family, and my mother wanted a new dress for wedding, and she was looking for a dressmaker. And she asked her friend if she knew someone, and so we come to a dressmaker, which is working with us now by MLB. So it was the beginning of our friendship. And she was so inspired for me because she was so humble and she was so grateful, but she also was at that time struggling with marriage issues and so on. She told me her story about her life. How did she come to be dressmaker? And it was so for me eye-opening, and her humble character fascinated me. So she was for myself, for my mind, the symbol of Uzbek women. And I spoke with her about my idea, what she thinks about it, and she was so fascinated, and she was so humble, and so she thought she will support me every time, and we make it together. And still now she's on my side and giving me professional advices. It's like a big friendship or sisterhood even. So yes, she was. Her name is Guli. It means flower. She was a reason why I started fashion label, I think. Yes.
That's so beautiful. And I guess she also connected you to some of the other makers who then connected you to other makers, and that's how the network grew.
She will, yes, do her because for our first collection we bought from bazaar our fabric, etc. Like very normal people, I said like Uzbek people. But now we are working with weavers who wove the fabric, who made it in the workshops. Like it's another level. And do Guli, we have now even connections in the workshops with women who make fabrics, who make ikat.
How many are you now in the whole label or brand?
We are, in our network, we have 35 women who who masters very different embroidery or craftsmanships, yes. So we're looking, our criteria, we're looking for women who have social disadvantages, like divorced, etc. It's a big disadvantage for Uzbekistan. But on the other side, we also work with women who knows very rare craftsmanship, like gold embroiderment and so on. Yes.
The textile, the materials you're using for your pieces, since they also very much connect to the history of Uzbekistan, but also the socialist regime that was occupying Uzbekistan for a long time, and also somehow directed the way what kind of materials were being sold and produced in Uzbekistan, and therefore took over the market. You told me very interesting facts about those textiles and their history in our previous call, so I would like to hear again and more about it.
Okay, it's a very complex question, so I begin with the textiles
step by
and
step.
Yes, with the culture meaning maybe. For me, ikat is a symbol of Uzbekistan, and for Uzbeks, ikat has a culture heritage meaning. So in Uzbekistan or in the territory of Uzbekistan, ikat is woven since 1,700 years. And it is almost on the same way. It made by hand, and the textile world belonged always to the women. So through textiles, especially through suzanis, women told their dreams. So what is suzani? Suzani is a big tapestry embroidered by hand. So this kind of Suzanis were in the first place dvori for women who is going to marry.
Brides.
Yes, brides. Thank you. And it was not possible to imagine a bride without Suzani. It was a big part of the identity which Suzani were made by her and her mother. And through this fabric, the women communicated every time their dreams and wishes. These dreams and wishes were connected to spiritual world and to the cultural background. So So mostly women wanted harmony, a good life for their and healthy children, and something about some spiritual connection to the God. It's in short about the fabric.
Would you see it on the fabric? Like what exactly, like in certain symbolic forms, like what the dreams or the projections were?
Yes, it is, but now a lot of people didn't know it because it seems like every pattern seems to be similar to each other. But I read last year's 12 books about Suzanis, so I learned a little bit to understand the meanings. Because which kind of colors was used, how big is it, how many patterns are embroidered. Everything has a meaning, so nothing is coincidental. And I find it's also very, very interesting that some patterns has roots in other religions, like Zoroastric religion. Zoroastric religion was in Central Asia for Islam. And since 7th century, Zoroastric religion is forbidden. It's like Islam is now a dominated religion in Central Asia, especially in Uzbekistan. And people, women especially, making this pattern without knowing that this pattern has a meaning in other religion. I found it so interesting and so powerful that this kind of the whole history of the country is on a fabric. It's very fascinating idea for me, and I'm very sad that this knowledge is not so popular in Uzbekistan. Actually, due to socialism, Uzbekistan has forgotten a lot of traditions about textile world, because due Soviet Union, Uzbekistan was specialized to produce cotton. Every other type of textiles were not popular, or even sometimes it was forbidden to use or to make this kind of fabrics. So we in Uzbekistan needed every time to make enough tons of cotton for government. That's why the other techniques like making fabric or making ikat, making suzanis were forbidden and is now forgotten. That's why now Uzbekistan is trying to renew this tradition. So we have now Fergana Valley, which is specialized for ikat, but in the past, we are speaking now about 400 years even. It's not so much, it's not so long time ago. Bukhara, Samarkand were also very popular cities for fabrics, and the fabrics from Bukhara were very luxurious in the world. So it is so big damage for this kind of short time, which makes me very sad. But on the other side, I'm very happy that the government is now trying everything to renew this tradition, that people begin to be aware again of this kind of fabrics.
If I would like a piece by my little Bukhara, how do you go about it? Like, do you make pieces custom, or can people just buy different items from your shop? And also, like, how long does it take actually to make such a special handmade garment?
Indeed, we work with local craftswomen, and our customers, our clients can order tailor-made pieces from our online shop, from our collection. If we make a collection, there are like normal sizes, SM, etc. If you want to have some quick clothes, like without waiting, so we will deliver it like standard without problems. But if you want to make other cut, maybe some more pockets or other buttons, maybe you want some bright fabric or some not so cherishful fabric, you are also able to make this kind of improvements on your clothing. We consult you personal with video call, and also you can send us your measurements, and our women and our craftswomen, our dressmakers especially, will make this clothing only for your taste. And if you are going to order custom-made pieces, it will take 20 days that you get it. I think it is so about 10 days that we will make it, we will create the clothing, and other 10 days, unfortunately, we have to wait from the postal way that we got it. Due war in the Ukraine, it took longer now, so 20 days, but for the war it were 2 weeks the waiting time. And about which is also important for me to mention, that this fabric is handwoven, yes, and we are talking about 2 months for a fabric to make. So our craftswomen need up to 60 days to weave 100 meters of fabric. And if we are talking about suzani, so one craftswoman need up to 3,000 hours to make a tapestry. So it is very intense and it took a lot of time. That's why we are saying that we are slow fashion label. So if you want something very fast, maybe it will don't function with our clothing, because if you buy something from my little Bukhara, you are also dedicated to this clothing. It means also you have to take care of your clothes, because you cannot just normal way put ikat fabric in wash machine.
Of course, and all of this, what you just said, I guess also results in the price, right? The final price you pay for the pieces. From your website, I could see that, of course, the prices vary, but the traditional chapat is around like 500, 600 euro, which might seem a lot, but as we just heard, it takes so many hours of handmade work. Can you tell a little bit also in terms of slow fashion and sustainable fashion and transparency, who actually gets paid from this 500 or 600 euro of the client paying your brand?
So in the first line, on the first time we buy fabric from our weavers, so they take the price, and for us it is very important to pay fairly, because as I told, we are slow fashion, but also the mission of our online shop is to empower women, and I believe that freedom means financial freedom. So for me it is very important to pay on the fair way the women, and a little bit even more than they expect. So it is the first person who gets money. The second person is the dressmaker. So it may be Kuli or the other women from our supply chain who spends days with a chapan. So we discuss every step, every details, how we should make it. Should we need to be belt or need to be buttons, etc. So every step we discuss here. And Guli for chapan needs 8-10 hours. So it is like a whole day where she's only with chapan working. After it, we have to send it to Germany, and unfortunately, the sending prices from Uzbekistan to Germany is very high.
Very high, yeah.
Yes, and we have to pay also taxes here, and it is very, very high, unfortunately. And it is also so here we have also to pay. And the next part which also takes cost is we work with our packaging is without plastic. So we have only sustainable packaging. If you order something, you will get also small bag from cotton, which also made for this item, etc. So it's small details. Our postcard, which we send, is also made in a sustainable way without a plastic or chemical colors that are very important for us as a sustainable label, but it costs also extra for us in the planning. So it is all the very small details. Also, marketing is a big cost part, but I have to say I'm fortunate that my husband he supported me with videos and photography because he's a content creator. I would say our fashion is upper premium or even sometimes a luxury segment. But if you order something, you can also see a transparency cost list of every item where we list how much every person earns on one item.
That's so nice that you do it. Like, I encountered something similar with a Berlin-based brand, a Japanese-German brand. And it was the first time that I actually saw like the division. That's why I also asked you, because I thought it was so interesting and so so like the transparency really made sense. And then of course you start thinking why a shirt from H&M costs you like €15, you know?
At the beginning, I'm very shocked by myself. If I got the prices from the craftswomen, I asked myself, how can Zara, H&M, you name it, afford such a cheap clothing? Because we take a blazer, yes, like jacket. For one blazer, we are speaking now about cotton fabric. So we need for our dressmaker will charge €60 only for making it. So it is fair for myself, but if you go to Zara or H&M, you see €30, €40, and I was like asking myself every time, how is it possible? Because it's very sad and very shocked. I was very sad and very shocked on this information.
Yeah, of course, once you are in it and you know the real costs, you see the big problem of that industry. Coming back to the individual pieces in your shop and in your collection, can you tell us a little bit about the chapan, but also about the duppi, so the Uzbek hats? These are like the two, I would say, more traditional pieces in your collection that I thought would be fun to speak about.
So chapan is, in my opinion, the most Uzbek clothing item, because I think since 7th century people wear coats like chapan in Uzbekistan. So it has a long tradition in Uzbekistan, and there are a lot of chapans for every occasion. So people, before we got these westernized coats, like very modern way coats, we had chapans filled with cotton, very, very warm and very big, very heavy chapans. I have still 2 of them with myself in Germany. And it's very interesting if I wear it, but okay. So it is the one part. And there are also chapans for every occasion. There are chapans for wedding, if you're going to be married, for men, for women, etc. And now also a lot of young women in Uzbekistan wearing ikat chapans as a kimono for summer days. It's becoming now popular. So it is, in my opinion, the most Uzbek item. And for our online shop, I was inspired by the coat, by the man chapan from the 19th century. These chapans were a little bit oversized, so you can wear it without problems, and it's also very comfortable and light for wearing. But also these chapans had a belt, which is very functional, in my opinion. So you can wear chapan as a kimono, as a dress, even with this belt. So it was a making process of our latest chapan for our collection. And the duppi has a very interesting history. Because in the 30s and 1930s, Uzbek women were struggling with a movement which Soviet government planned to unveil women. Till 1926, women in Uzbekistan wear face veil, and Soviet government didn't want to see it. They wanted to say it liberated women, so they took away this kind of identity pieces of women, and a lot of women struggled with the issue to show their faces to the men, so they used duppi as a hat, so their head was still covered in some way and they feel safe. So in Uzbekistan, women and men wear duppis, and duppis didn't have any religious meaning. I will ask a lot about this question. So it has only traditional meaning. But I think in Afghanistan, for example, the duppis that people in Uzbekistan are wearing is worn only by men. So it is also a question which I get a lot, if the duppis is allowed to be worn by women. Yes, and in Uzbekistan, mostly women wear duppis, and men did not wear in such kind of way as a woman duppis. Yes, and I love by myself duppi because it's like small details that you can wear, and you can still. I like to combine it with modern clothing. So you have a jean clothes and t-shirt, sneakers, I don't know, and like duppi. It's like very interesting combination in my opinion.
How does it hold on your head?
You have to just put it to your head, and if you didn't have a big head as me, I struggle every time with the size, but on normal way it will. It's like hot. It will just.
It will stay.
Yes, but there are also duppis that you only put on your head, and you have to fix it with
some pins or something like this.
Yes. So there, but we didn't have this one. We have only the duppis that you just put and you can wear it.
They look super beautiful.
They're very beautiful, very colorful, and I was very fascinated to see how they were made, because it's also handmade and from cotton fabric. It's also very important for myself to use cotton, but it is so a long way, and I'm also very fascinated by the patterns, because every pattern has each story, and every pattern also says from which kind of Uzbekistan the duppis come from.
I wanted to come back to the women of Uzbekistan. Is there a feminist movement in Uzbekistan?
Yes, I'm thinking on this way because I read today also some topics about this theme, but I'm very glad that even this feministic woman achieved something very big this year. Since 2023, since this year, domestic violence is a crime in Uzbekistan. For me, it is a big celebration, because 1 year ago it was like, and it's like normal.
It was just a thing, like a private thing, right? Like it stays at home. It's not a public concern.
Exactly. And if you told about your problems at home, like these problems that your husband hurts you, it's like you are the problem. Like you are not, your behavior is maybe bad, maybe you're not cooking good, maybe you're asking too much questions, and so on. And if you're telling about your problems at home, like you are again the problem, because you're telling about the problem at home, you don't allow it. So you're a bad woman, and so on. It was every time like victims were every time problem itself in the society. They see it on this way, and I'm very glad that this year, due and thanks to this feministic voice, domestic violence is violence, and Uzbekistan also difference between sexualized violence in the marriage. It's very, very important. Between psychological, financial violence. And the part with the sexualized violence in the marriage, I was very shocked, and I was very happy for this, because for Uzbekistan it is a big step to the feminism, and of course there are a lot of young feminist voices in the society now who are fighting for women's rights, who are speaking out about the problems, and now is also rising awareness about the gender issues in Uzbekistan. I think so 10 years ago it was not possible to speak about things like that, and now I'm very glad to watch that a lot of Instagram sites which are educating women about their rights and so on. Yeah.
Are also, for example, queer voices included in feminist circles, or is it rather led by women at the moment?
Unfortunately, by the women now. So LGBTQ rights, it's also very big and very difficult theme, but for now, it is not a theme for Uzbekistan to speak about it. Yes, it is very sad.
It's still a process, of course, right?
Yes, I hope so. Yes.
But that's so beautiful to hear that people are actually doing so much and going forward, as you said, with exactly acknowledging domestic violence as a crime. This is a very big achievement, of course.
Yes, and they're forcing politicians to see it on this way and to make new laws. Even the politicians are old men who are privileged by their role in the society. They're seeing this problem on this way and making improvement. Also, it is the good part of it is the daughter of president is also she fights for women's rights, and I think she makes also a lot of pressure on old men politicians.
All right, good news. For the end, we always speak about food here, but before we do that, I wanted to ask more for the future of my little Bukhara. How would you like the brand to look in 2, 3, 5 years? What's your dream?
I dream, so I hope, I'm going to work with women from Afghanistan and Iran in the future. It's my big dream to work and to tell the stories of women from these countries through fashion. I'm fascinated by the textile world of these both countries, and as I mentioned, I'm Tajik. So I speak the languages, so I speak Farsi and Dari from Afghanistan, and I hope that I can make it happen to work with women from these countries and tell the stories of craftswomen from these countries, because Afghanistan and Iran has a lot of negative emotions in the society that talking about these countries, and I want to show how beautiful it is actually, and how beautiful the textile world is, and which kind of beautiful stories textiles from these countries is telling. And my next project, I want to write a book about the life of women in Uzbekistan, because I miss every time the voices from Uzbekistan or from Central Asia. If we are speaking about this region, there are a lot of books which are written about this region, about political situations, about the food, about traveling, etc. But I miss the voices of the people from the countries. So I want to fill this lake and write about the life of the people in Uzbekistan, and maybe also small part with recipes, maybe.
Well, so last but not least, we want to finish up as usual by speaking about favorite food from home. And I'm very curious what you will tell us because I know nothing or very little about the Uzbek kitchen. So I'm curious, about your favorite tastes from home.
Uzbek kitchen or Uzbek food has a lot of meat. So I don't know. Are you vegetarian?
I'm vegetarian, yes.
I'm also vegetarian, and it's a big struggle for me to be in Uzbekistan.
Oh, yeah.
And don't eat some dishes without meat. But there is plov. I think people who live in Germany, they know Turkish pilav. It's similar to Uzbek plov. And every region, every city has own tradition to make traditional plov. I think in Uzbekistan there are about 130 types of plov, a lot. So
wow, that's crazy.
Yes, and what is plov actually? It is a rice dish with meat, carrot, and it depends on the region where you are. So we use also chickpeas. My favorite taste of plov is chickpea. Yes, and if I'm going to make a vegetarian version of plov, I use champignons for meat, so it functions for myself.
Ah, yes, replacement.
Yes. But every person who visits Uzbekistan is every time speaking with me about plov, but I think plov is a little bit overrated. So I love samsa. I think it is similar to Indian sambusa or samsa, and it is very interesting that Uzbeks brought samsa to India. So samsa, which we know from India, has Uzbek origin. Very crazy, I know. And
crazy.
I was by myself very surprised of this information. So I love samsa. What is samsa? Samsa is made out of dough with filling. Usually filling is grounded beef with onions, but as a vegetarian I love potato filling. So you make it in oven for 40 minutes and it tastes very, very good. And if I make also a YouTube video YouTube vlog where I'm doing samsa, but it's like very easy. You can buy dough from a supermarket, make a potato filling and do it at home in 20 minutes. But because my childhood memories of making samsa is like you need 3-4 hours and you need to wash a lot of dishes, and it took so long to have a meal. Yes, but it is possible to make it very quickly.
Maybe I make one tonight. Sounds delicious.
Cool. I hope you will enjoy it.
Nice. I mean, it's great if someone tells you a recipe and then you immediately have like a video to it. And since you said it's not so time consuming, that sounds good to me. Well, thank you so much, Nadira, for sharing everything today. You're a great storyteller and your English is perfect.
Thank you.
I don't know what you were worried about.
Thank you, Patrycja. It was very fun and I enjoyed our conversation.
And this was it for today. Thank you for reaching till the end of this podcast episode. The next one is coming in 4 weeks, always on Monday. Please follow the podcast and leave a rating if you're listening on Spotify. There's 2 ways you can support the further development of this platform. Number 1 is to buy the Kitchen Conversations cookbook, homey recipes from artists that features home dishes from the first 17 guests who appeared on the podcast. And number 2 is to become a patron of Kitchen Conversations and support this platform with an amount of your choice that starts with $2.50 per month. More info you can find on patreon.com/kitchenconversations. In the meantime, take good care and we hear each other soon.